Hi guys, so we're gonna have, so this is a guide for activity page number 5, okay? So I will share you what that looks like here. So make sure that you have this copy. So this is the 5th activity that you should have. Okay, so when you're multiplying polynomials, so I have already a lesson tutorial about multiplying polynomials, but this one, I will guide you on how to do this one, okay? So let me use this red marker. So if you're multiplying polynomials, so you're gonna multiply the coefficients or the number before the variables, and then you add the exponents of those which have the same basis or same variables. For example, this one. 4 times 5, what's that? You write it down. And then for the x, you add the exponent. So what's 1 plus 1? That should be the exponent that you're going to write over here. Okay? So 4 times 5, you write that down. Then you write x. And then 1 plus 1, you write that. What's that equal to? That's the exponent. For number 2, so 3 times 5, what's that? Then since they have the same basis, so you just write x, add the exponents. Take note, that's 1. So what's 2 plus 1? That's the exponent right here. Okay? For this one, 6 times 3, what's that? You write that down. Then you write y. Add exponents. They're both y for the basis, so you just have to add the exponents right away. So what's 2 plus 3? So you write the exponent. Okay? For this part, so you have a parentheses. So those arrows indicate that you're going to multiply whatever is outside to whatever you have to the terms inside. So 3 times 5x. So 3 times 5, you write it down. And then you only have x. 3 doesn't have any variables, so you just copy the x. So all you have to do is 3 times 5, you write it down, then you write that x. Next, 3 times 7 is what? If it's positive, you write plus, then whatever 3 times 7 is. And that's it. Now for this one, number 5, so you multiply 4x to each term inside that parentheses. Now, 4x times 2x squared. So let's do the coefficients. What's 4 times 2? You write it down. They're both x's. So you write x. Take note that if you have an x only, no exponent, that means it's just 1. So when you add the exponents of the same basis, or with those which has the same basis, do 1 plus 2. So what's 1 plus 2? That will be the exponent for the first x. Next, we write plus because 4 times 7 is just positive. You write down the answer. Then for the x's, so again, for the x's, what's 1 plus 1? You write the exponent right here. Then for the last term, 4x times 3. 4 times 3 is just 12. Then since you only have that, oh, why did I write 12? You should solve it on your own. 4 times 3 is just 12, and then you just copy the x because you don't have any other x's. 3 doesn't have any x, so you just copy that x in 4x. Okay, so this one is the FOIL method. So you can use any method when you simplify or multiply polynomials. So FOIL, for the F, it means first. O means outer, I means inner, L means last, okay? So if you see FOIL, so the first term, so that's x times x. So what's x times x? So when you multiply x and x, when you multiply variables, you add the exponents. So you write x, then what's 1 plus 1? You write that as the exponent, okay? So that's 1 plus 1 is what? Next, for the outer terms, so this is the outer term, so x and 2. what's x times 2? So if you're multiplying a number and a variable, so you just combine them. You write the number first. So 2 times, it's like 2 times 1. So write the number first, then you write that x. If it has an exponent, then you copy the exponent also, okay? But since it only has x, so you just write blank x, or what's 2 times 1, then x. For the inner, so what's 5 times x? Of course, 5 times 1 is just, and then you write x. So don't forget, before the x, you write what's 5 times 1. For the last terms, so 5 and 2 are the last terms of each binomial. So what's 5 times 2? That's what you're going to write over there, okay? For this one, first terms, again, x times x. What's x times x? You write it over here. Then you have outer terms, x times 3. So if you're multiplying a letter and a number, just copy the number first, then you write the letter. So x times 3 is 3x. That's a hint. Next, 4 times x, that's the inner term. And then the last terms, 4 times, take note, you got a minus. So 4 times negative 3 is what? 4 times negative 3 is what? Now, when you are simplifying, for example, let's enter this one. Let me just have an answer for this one. That's x squared. 3x, 4 times x is 4x, right? Then 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So I'll have this one as an example. If you're simplifying, you just write or combine like terms. So you don't have any other x squared. But when it comes to the x's, you have 3x and 4x. What's 3x plus 4x? That's just 7x. Then since you don't have any other whole number, you just copy that, minus 12. And that's it. Now you do the same thing in number 6. In number 7, so you just multiply x to x times x squared. So you multiply that. So what's x times x squared? You add the exponents. What's 1 plus 2? That's the exponent of the first one. Then for the second one, x times 4x. That's a number only. So 4x. Now what's 1 plus 1? You write the exponent. That still has an exponent. That has an exponent. It's not negative, okay? It's a blank. X times 7. So you just combine, write the number first, then the letter. Now, same thing in here. 3 times x squared. So write the number, then write the variable with the exponent. 3 times 4x, what's 3 times 4? And then you write the x because you only have that x. And the last one, 3 times 7, what's that? You write it at the last one. If you simplify, so you combine those with the same terms, okay? So if you see another x squared, or if you see another x cubed, or if you see another x, make sure you combine them. Same with number 9. So 2x times 4x cubed. So that's 8x. Now what's 1 plus 3 for the exponent? If you're dealing with exponents, when multiplying polynomials, don't forget to add the exponent. So that will be 8x4. Now do the same thing over here. Then do the same thing at the last one, okay? Then here, -1 times that. Then -1 times this. -1 times that. So that goes to all those 3 blanks. When you simplify, combine like terms. That means if it has an x squared, you combine it with another x squared. So if there are x's, you combine it with the other x's. So this one, write an expression for the width of the rectangle. Now, if you say width, you can just name it with, you can do x or w. Well, w is easier, so you can have w, okay? Write an expression for the length of the rectangle. Now, it says the length of a rectangle is 5 inches greater than the width. If it's greater than, that means you're going to do w. Is it plus or minus if it's greater than? And then you write 5, okay? So write the w, then is it plus or minus if it's greater than 5? Length times width. Whatever you get for A, which is this one, of course, it's the answer. And whatever you get for B, you multiply them. Okay? So that means you're going to write W times whatever your answer is in the second one. May it be plus or minus in between. So W, what? Plus 5 or W minus 5? I don't know. After that, make sure you solve it. So W times the first one, then W times the second term. That should be your answer. Now find the area of the rectangle when the width is 3 inches. So if you say area is 3 inches, the width is 3 inches, that means if the width is 3 inches and the length is 5 inches greater than the width, what's the length? So again, if the width is 3 inches, what's the length? If it says the length of a rectangle is 5 inches greater than the width. So what's the number if it's 5 inches greater than this one? Okay, so that's the length. Now, when you find that, since you are being asked for the area, you just multiply those two numbers. And that's your area, because area for a rectangle is just length times width. But when it says find the area of the rectangle when the length is 9 inches. So if the length is 9 inches and they told us that the width, or they told us the length is just 5 inches greater than the width. So if the length is 9 and that's 5 inches greater than this, what's the width then? After you find that, so still the same, find the area, you multiply those two numbers. That's how you do letter E, okay? So if you have more questions, just ask me. That's it for activity page number 5.